You are Locked On Broncos POSTCAST, powered by Mile High Sports, part of Locked On Sports Denver, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Whew. Well, that was fun. That was, dare I say, the best Monday Night Football game of the year, as the Denver Broncos take down the Cleveland Browns. They outlast them, really. Your final score, 41-32, just a shootout. The definition of a shootout was that game here tonight, as the Broncos get a big win. Now with their bye week ahead of them, the Broncos improve to 8-5 on the season, while the Cleveland Browns fall to 3-9. Welcome on into your Locked On Broncos POSTCAST. I am your host, Aniello Piro. Hope all of Broncos country is doing well out there here in the Mile High City, as the Broncos get a pretty thrilling victory. Not a normal victory for the Denver Broncos this season. It's usually been a defense-first type of mentality, but thankfully the offense picked them up and they escape with the W. Tonight's episode of your Locked On Broncos POSTCAST is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. But Broncos country, how we feeling out there, baby? Man, what a game. Just like I said to start the show, probably the most entertaining Monday Night Football game of the year, and that would have sucked if the Denver Broncos unfortunately would have lost that game, but thankfully it's a victory show. We're all feeling good out here in Broncos country. Do me a favor, if you guys are watching on YouTube, smash that like button, hit that subscribe button on your Locked On Sports Denver YouTube channel. That way you guys never, ever miss an episode of your Locked On Broncos POSTCAST, hosted by yours truly. A lot to get into tonight, man. Like I said, the defense was awful. They had some bright spots. Jaleel McLaughlin putting the game on ice there. Oh, wait, did I? Oh, I meant not Jaleel McLaughlin. I'm sorry. It's Jaquan McMillan. I was getting my players confused there. Jaquan McMillan putting the game on ice tonight for the Denver Broncos. And, Jerry Jeudy with the revenge game, the most receiving yards ever for a player playing against his former team. So plenty to break down here tonight, but I think the big picture thought is a win is a win. Doesn't matter, to take a page out of Dominic Toretto's book in Fast and the Furious. It doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning is winning, and that is exactly what the Denver Broncos were able to do here tonight. But, a lot to be impressed with. The running game, got going a little bit. Jaleel McLaughlin, in that sense, had a nice game, 14 carries for 84 yards. But you also had two 100-yard receivers tonight for the Denver Broncos, and Marvin Mims, who had 3 receptions for 105 yards, including a 93-yard touchdown reception. Courtland Sutton, not too shabby either. He hauled in 6 catches for 102 yards. So nice production from those two horses for Bo Nix and the Broncos offense. Bo Nix was pretty good tonight. 294. He wasn't great, but he was 18 for 35, 294 passing yards, 1 touchdown, a couple picks, one of them a bit unlucky. But Bo Nix was good enough to get the job done. And like I said there, Jaquan McMillan, at late in the fourth quarter, putting the game on ice with that pick 6 on Jameis Winston. And look, man, I was talking with some buddies, watching the game with some buddies, and they're big Jameis Winston fans. They are, but this is, they said it on the post-game show there, Scott Van Pelt, Troy Aikman, and Joe Buck, as I was getting ready to start the program here. That was the full Jameis Winston experience, where he is the reason you're in a game, but he's also the reason you can lose a game. A couple of terrible interceptions for Jameis Winston in this game here tonight. But thankfully, the Broncos defense, despite being gashed throughout the course of the game, was able to make a couple of those heads-up plays and solidify the victory for Denver. So go ahead and drop some comments. Anyone that's watching live, appreciate y'all as always. Let me know your biggest takeaway from the game today. Who's your player of the game? What stood out to you? And we'll break it all down for you here on your Locked On Broncos POSTCAST, as Denver gets the win 41-32. But it started out, a bit interesting there. 3 and out to begin the game. Denver's offense started a little bit slow, tied up at 7 at the end of the first quarter. And then Denver slowly, it felt like, started to pull away. Once you got to midway in the third quarter, it felt like the Broncos were going to have this one in the bag. But Jerry Jeudy and company just absolutely running up the score on the Denver Broncos here tonight. Is, like I said, this was a bit of an unconventional win for Denver. so far this season. They've been a defense first type of organization this year, where their defense has really put this team on their back and has allowed Bo Nix to kind of settle into some grooves. And tonight, Bo Nix and the offense had to keep the pressure on the Cleveland Browns, who, look, I know they only have 3 wins so far this season, but it's one of those situations where the NFL has been so wacky this year. Sometimes the bad teams are, upset victories, playing close games, whatever it might be. And that's exactly what you had here tonight with the Cleveland Browns. They did not go down without a fight. But thankfully, the Broncos were able to outlast them thanks to, like I said, a combination of Jaleel McLaughlin from the backfield, Marvin, Mims, and Courtland, Sutton in the receiving game, really helping put this game away for the Denver Broncos, in particular with those 2 interceptions on the final 2 drives of the game for the Cleveland Browns. So you absolutely love to see that. Not a lot, there is actually a lot to dissect in regards to what you don't like, specifically with that defense. I think one thing is super clear to all of us, and I saw the tweets flying around on social media. This Denver Broncos team really misses Riley Moss right now, who is currently out with an injury. And hopefully Riley Moss will be back sooner rather than later, because when you have Riley Moss and Patrick Surtain running point for you on the corners, it goes a long way in kind of slowing down opposing teams' offense. And you saw tonight that Cleveland was able to, Jameis Winston and company, Jerry Jeudy and company were able to, pick apart this Denver Broncos defense. I mean, let's take a look here at the receiving dynamic for the Cleveland Browns. I mean, Jerry Jeudy had 235 receiving yards, guys. 9 receptions for 235 yards, a touchdown, a long reception of 70 yards, which was kind of the response for the Cleveland Browns after that Marvin Mims bomb. So Jerry Jeudy, tried to do everything he could to try to beat his former team here tonight. Elijah Moore also added 111 yards of his own on 8 receptions. I mean, David and Joe got involved. He had 2 touchdowns in this game. He entered into this game with only 3 touchdowns on the season. He finishes with 2 tonight, 9 receptions for 52 yards. So, a lot for Denver to try to clean up. But like I said, doesn't matter how you win. A win is a win, especially as we get to the December portion of the NFL season and Denver vying for a playoff spot. And that's the other big takeaway from this game here tonight, is this win for the Denver Broncos doesn't clinch them anything. And we got Nick Bonito on the screen. Hey, I'll tell you this as well. For anyone that's watching or listening after the fact, make sure to follow us at Mile High Sports. We've got some cool content coming out with maybe Bonito, maybe another popular player on the defense. So check us out at Mile High Sports on social media. We just dropped our Aaron Gordon magazine cover today. So make sure to check it out. We'll be dropping some fun content over there for all you Broncos fans. But, it was just one of those situations today where it was a non-defense game. I mean, Jameis Winston threw for nearly 500 yards. He finishes with 497 passing yards. He had 4 touchdowns in this game, but 3 interceptions, which ultimately came back to bite them in the rear end as the Denver Broncos escaped with that victory, 41-32, your final score. So, like I said, it's one of those games where you have so much action, so much scoring, that there's a lot to be happy about if you're a Bronco fan, but there's also a lot that you're going to want to, kind of get back to the drawing board, watch the tape, and, try to correct some of this stuff. But a little bit of an uncharacteristic game from the Denver Broncos defense tonight, but thankfully it does not matter as they get that victory. But what I was saying before I talked about Bonito is when you're this late into the season, and now Denver's at 8-5. As I mentioned, they didn't clinch anything, but they're looking up at the Chargers in the playoff standings. They're looking up at the Ravens in the playoff standings, right? They're the 3rd best team in the AFC West alone. You can't afford to drop any games at this point in the season, specifically to a 3-win Cleveland Browns team. So nice to see Denver, when it matters most, when the lights are the brightest, have their defense step up with those 2 interceptions, one from Michael Burton and one, of course, from Jaquan McMillan, as the Denver Broncos get that victory. Nick Bonito as well with the house call. We're seeing him here talking with Scott Van Pelt, and he's been just such an incredible player. We'll talk about Nick Bonito and that defense here on the other side of your Locked On Broncos postcast, because he was definitely the star of the show. I mean, a lot of guys, or Cody Bart, with that interception there in that game. At the very end, but a lot of different guys stepping up for the Denver Broncos tonight. Levi Wallace had a nice game. Cody Barton, as I just mentioned, great game. Nick Bonito doing his thing. Patrick Surtain, clutch tackle on Jerry Jeudy there as they were driving late in the game to knock the ball out. And just a lot to like about how this Denver Broncos defense responded late in the game. I thought that was super critical for Denver here tonight. So love to see it. best Monday Night Football game in a long time, high scoring, electric, and nice to see Denver get a primetime win. Their first home game on Monday Night Football since 2018 against the Kansas City Chiefs, and it was an absolute treat. So for anybody that was there, congratulations on a fun game, and most importantly, congratulations to the Denver Broncos on getting this victory. Not an absolute must-win, but one that you'd be kicking yourself over if you were unable to get that win. So good stuff from Denver tonight. I'm going to hit my first break. When we come back, we will continue along with the conversation. Go ahead and drop some comments, guys. As I always like to say, I'm the host of the show, but you guys are the ones that help me drive the conversation. So go ahead and drop some comments. Let me know your big takeaways from this game here tonight. Who is your player of the game? What does Denver need to improve on? Give me your overall reaction. We'll go back and forth when I come back right here on your Locked On Broncos postcast. Back in just a moment, folks. Ooh, and we got a new sponsor to the show. Let me tell you about our friends over at Ice Shaker, guys. What's going on, Locked On Broncos fans? It's your host, Aniello Piro here. I know you're like me and your holiday shopping list is, let's just say, far from complete. Well, if that's the case, I've got the perfect gift for the passionate sports fan like yourself. Perhaps you've heard of Ice Shaker. Ice Shaker is now officially licensed with the NFL, NHL, NBA, NCAA, and Major League Baseball, and will make the ideal gift. Created by and used by the Gronkowski brothers, Ice Shakers has sold over 1 million bottles. They have changed the game with their workout bottles, and this is a gift that you have been looking for. Go to iceshaker.com and use the code LOCKEDONNFL at checkout to save 25% off of your order. Guys, it's kitchen grade stainless steel bottles that won't absorb odor like the plastic bottles do. It's third-party tested with the results all across their website as well. Their patented twist-in irrigator that breaks up powders, built-in silent when you shake it instead of that annoying ball, you hear that metal ball when you're using those other shakers and whatnot. It's third-party tested and will hold ice for more than 30 hours, guys. It's also customizable. Send us your logo or check it out on their custom shop to customize your favorite bottle. Turnaround time on custom bottles is 3 to 5 business days. The agitator works as a strainer as well and makes it a very solid tailgating cup to mix drinks. Order your team branded bottles today at iceshaker.com and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for 25% off of your order. Ice Shakers, show your support for your team with the best branded workout bottles on the market. Ice Shakers, guys, make sure to check out our friends over at Ice Shakers and let them know that Locked On Broncos sent you. And where is my other lower third? Let me tell you about our friends over at BetterHelp here as well, guys, because therapy does not need to be a scary thing in this day and age, guys. I'm so serious. We just had Thanksgiving. We just had Christmas is coming up as well. And, there's a lot of people, it's great sometimes to talk to some friends or family when you're not feeling so good, or you're feeling a little blue, whatever it might be. But how do you stay cozy during the winter months? For some, wrapping up in a warm blanket with a mug of hot chocolate or watching a movie with the family is the best way to spend the month of December. Therapy is also a great way to bring yourself some comfort that never goes away, even when the season changes, guys. If you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. And like I said, therapy does not need to be a scary thing in 2024 as we get ready to move into 2025. It can be a great asset to help you get through your day-to-day, help you build your confidence, help you get your mind right. And our friends over at BetterHelp are going to get you taken care of. Find comfort this December with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off of your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Check out our friends over at BetterHelp. Convenient, flexible, online therapy. To get started, visit our friends at BetterHelp.com/lockedon. All right, you guys, welcome on back into your Locked On Broncos POSTCAST. I am your host, Aniello Piro. You guys can follow me on social media at Media by AP. If you're watching live on YouTube, appreciate you guys as always. Do me a favor if you could, hit that like button, smash that subscribe button. That way you guys never, ever miss an episode of your Locked On Broncos, Locked On Nuggets, Locked On Buffs. And when we get to baseball season, Locked On Rockies POSTCAST, all hosted by yours truly. Really appreciate you guys rocking with me here on this Monday night, right around 10 o'clock here in the Mile High City, as the Denver Broncos get an exciting victory, 41-32 over the Cleveland Browns to improve to 8-5 on the season. And we got one comment here. Levi Wallace was not very good. He was stressing me out. Yeah, that was kind of part of the dynamic with this Denver Broncos defense here tonight. PJ Locke had some ugly moments. A lot of guys had some ugly moments on that defense here tonight. But like I said, at the end of the day, all that matters is when the lights were the brightest, this team stepped up on defense. You had Jaquan McMillan with the clutch pick six off of Jameis Winston, which really put the game on ice. And then what solidified the victory for the Denver Broncos was Cody Barton's interception in the red zone this evening. Once the Broncos were able to secure that, you essentially knew that the game was over. And that it was. Nick Bonito as well. How about Nick Bonito with the 71-yard interception return for a touchdown as well? So Denver gets 2 touchdowns, essentially 14 points there off of 2 mistakes from Jameis Winston, which unfortunately for Jameis fans out there is nothing new. But thankfully for Broncos fans, they were able to take advantage of Jameis's mishaps tonight. But, Bonito, we all knew that Nick Bonito could play ball, man. We knew that, but he's turning into a budding star in the league, specifically this season. And I've had the opportunity to spend some time with Nick Bonito one-on-one. Such a chill guy, so humble, so laid back, so reserved. But when he's on the field, man, he's a total dog out there. I mean, he is locked in and ready to go. And I know Jonathan Cooper, let's see, he finished with, I think he had a couple of sacks tonight. Where are you, Mr. There's so many different players that had tackles tonight. For the Denver Broncos. Where are you? Jonathan Cooper had 1 sack tonight, but Bonito was right there on Jameis Winston's hip as well. He had that other pass late in the game where he knocked Jameis's hand as he was throwing the ball. So Nick Bonito was playing the role of disruptor tonight for the Denver Broncos. And like I said, when you give up 32 points, you're not feeling too good about that. But when the moment mattered most, Denver's defense was able to clamp down. So, Justin Strnad had 5 total tackles tonight. Levi Wallace, who I know was a bit shaky, led the team tonight with 8 total tackles. Cody Barton with 8 total tackles. PJ Locke with 6 tackles. Zach Allen with 5. Surtain with 4. Jonah Ellis with 4. Just a lot of different guys. I'm not going to count them all out, but a lot of different guys making contributions for the Denver Broncos on defense this evening. But, when you just look at the stats, it was pretty ugly. Cleveland did a good job of moving the ball here tonight. They had 28 first downs compared to Denver's 19. They were 9 for 19 on third down in particular, and they had well over 150 more yards of total offense than the Denver Broncos did. 552 yards of total offense for the Browns compared to just 400 for the Denver Broncos, and they ran 84 plays compared to Denver's 61. So, Denver in that sense, if you're just looking at the stats here, a little bit lucky to get out with this victory here tonight. But thankfully their defense, as I've said a couple of times now, was able to put the team on their back. Bo Nix and company were able to do their thing and help push this team to victory. But, the one guy we've got to spend a couple of minutes on is Jerry Jeudy. And I'm not sure if you guys saw what he came out and said before the game, but he had this game circled on his calendar as soon as the schedule came out. And he was talking about, I want to beat those boys, I want to do this, I want to do that. And Jerry Jeudy got his. The Browns did not get the win tonight, but Jerry Jeudy certainly got his against his former team. He finishes with 235 receiving yards. 235 receiving yards for Jerry Jeudy. And again, that is the most receiving yards for a wideout against his former team in NFL history. T.O. had owned that record for well over a decade back when he was playing for the Dallas Cowboys, but now Jerry Jeudy owns that record with his 235 receiving yards and a touchdown, and that came on a 70-yard bomb. And not that this game, I don't know about y'all. Let me know if you felt like this game was ever in doubt. I always felt like Denver would figure it out. I felt like Jameis would make a mistake or two, and I felt like the Broncos would be just fine. But to have that big-time play from Marvin Mims with that huge touchdown catch to be followed up by that gut punch of Jerry Jeudy, that's when things got a little bit uneasy. And that's when you kind of realized you were in, at least in my opinion, for a pretty wild ride down to the very end. But then Jameis is Jameis. The Broncos get the win. Boom, 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 boom. It all goes according to plan at the end of the day here for the Denver Broncos. But a lot to clean up on for their defense. Thankfully, they've got a late bye. Typically, that's not a great thing for NFL teams, but when you're 8-5 and you're 4-2 at home and you just survived a 41-32 shootout on primetime, a bye is probably not the worst thing. Perfect timing for the Denver Broncos as they get ready to play their final stretch of games here in the regular season and try to solidify themselves as a playoff team, which is one of the best stories in the NFL if Denver's going to be able to make the playoffs. And like I said, this was not an absolute must-win game. Like Denver would not have been eliminated from the playoffs. The two teams that are in the hunt right now are the Indianapolis Colts and the Miami Dolphins, two teams that boast losing records at the moment. But it is one of those situations where a win goes a long way in kind of separating yourself from the pack and not having to be that last team in, not having to be that 7 seed in the AFC, right? You're still looking up. You got the same record now as the Ravens. Believe you got the same record now as the Chargers. You still play the Chargers head to head. So, Denver's got to be feeling pretty good about themselves here as they get ready to make that final push here going into the postseason. But let's hit my final break, guys. When we come back, we will get ready to put a bow on the show. No pun intended. We'll get a couple of closing thoughts here as Bo Nix and the offense did their job. At least well enough to secure the victory today. Marvin Mims, big game. Courtland Sutton, big game. Jaleel McLaughlin with some burst out of the backfield as well. So we'll break all that down when we come back right here on your Locked On Broncos postcast. Drop some comments. Let me know your thoughts. Who was your player of the game? What was your moment of the game as the Denver Broncos escape with a shootout victory over the Cleveland Browns on Monday Night Football? Back in just a moment, folks, right here on your Locked On Broncos postcast. All right, you guys, let me tell you about our friends over at FanDuel. And FanDuel is my personal favorite sportsbook. Guys, get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And let me also tell you about our friends over at Game Time, guys, because if you're not getting your tickets, if you were at the Broncos game tonight and you didn't get your tickets through Game Time, I don't know what to tell you. It's the best place for sports tickets, concert tickets, comedy tickets, whatever it might be. And Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets, guys. Let me tell you about some of my personal favorite features. I just told you about Game Time Picks, where curation makes it easier to save even more on sports, concerts, comedy, and theater. My personal favorite feature is their all-in pricing. Toggling this feature shows you the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. And guys, you can also get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. And I love that, so you know exactly what you're going to be looking at. And plus, the lowest price guarantee or Game Time will credit you not just 100% of the difference, but 110% of the difference. And your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms, they do apply. Again, create an account and redeem with code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Welcome on back into your Locked On Broncos postcast. I am your host, Aniello Piro. Do me a favor, guys, if you're watching live on YouTube, hit that like button, smash that subscribe button. It really means a lot to me as I talk about your Denver Broncos, talking some CU Buffs, some Denver Nuggets, all right here on your Locked On Sports Denver YouTube channel. You guys can also follow me on social media at Media by AP if your heart desires. But the Denver Broncos, man, big time victory here today. And let's take a look at their upcoming schedule before we get out of here, because like I said, Denver now at 8-5, only 4 games left on the schedule for this season. They'll take on the Indianapolis Colts, and they're coming off the bye here on the 15th of December. And if Denver's able to win that game, that should essentially end the Colts' playoff dreams. We'll see what happens with them in the next week, but you got to feel pretty good about Denver's chances to knock off the Colts. And I believe, if memory serves me correct, what was it, 2 years ago? Did they play that ugly Thursday night football game against the Colts at home? So maybe an opportunity for a revenge spot there. But then arguably the biggest game of the season left on the schedule comes after that, when they go to LA to take on the Chargers, a team that they're vying for a playoff spot against. So that should be an action-packed one. And they're also on the road for the Bengals before finishing up the season against the dreaded Kansas City Chiefs. So 3 out of these 4 games, you want to see Denver win 3 out of 4. You should beat the Colts, you should beat the Bengals, and then you're looking to really split against the Chargers or the Chiefs. But wouldn't surprise me if they're able to win both of those games, just because I think Denver's good enough in order to do that. But in regards to tonight's game, man, any means necessary. That's the story of the game here tonight. And that's exactly what the Denver Broncos did. They found a way to win an ugly game. Their defense was not up to par until the very end there with those couple of interceptions off of Jameis. But Bo Nix and the offense, opportunistic, taking advantage of some big plays there. A couple of tough interceptions for Bo, who's been much better at protecting the football here as of late. He finishes 18 for 35, 294 passing yards, a touchdown, and those 2 picks for a quarterback rating of 65.7. So not exactly the sharpest version of Bo Nix that we've seen, at least relative to the last 4 or 5 weeks here. But he was better than he was against Baltimore, and he was better than he was in those early games against Pittsburgh and against the Seahawks and all that good stuff. And like I said, that connection between him and Courtland Sutton continues to grow. Courtland tonight, 6 receptions for 102 yards. And if you guys listen to Troy Rank's podcast on the Mile High Sports YouTube channel, Troy and I are in agreement on this, that Courtland Sutton, what is Courtland Sutton, right? Probably on most NFL teams, or at least on playoff level teams, he's more of a 2 than he is a 1, but he's kind of the number 1 receiver for the Broncos by default, just due to their salary cap situation and the talent that they have around them. But, over the last, 6 or 7 games or so here, I'll pull this up. We could take a look at Courtland Sutton's game log here. Courtland Sutton has been great for this Denver Broncos team and a real big asset for Bo Nix. And I think that's also gone a long way in opening up the passing game as a whole, getting other guys involved. Like, I know Devon Bailey didn't have the best game tonight, but we've seen him pop off the last few weeks. Looking at it, the last handful of games here for Courtland Sutton, really since that Carolina game at the end of October. So it's been about a month stretch of really good play here from Courtland Sutton. He has played like a number 1 wide receiver tonight. 6 for 102, against the Raiders, 8 for 97 and 2 scores. Against the Falcons, 7 for 78. Against the Chiefs, 6 for 70. Against the Ravens, 7 for 122. And then against the Panthers, 8 for 100. So Courtland Sutton has done a great job of stepping his game up as this season is progressing, kind of being that safety blanket number 1 type of receiver for Bo Nix. And Marvin Mims was the leader of the pack tonight, man. He only had 3 receptions, but he was able to generate 105 yards, a majority of those yards coming on that 93-yard bomb from Bo Nix. So again, really outside of that, Troy Franklin only had 2 for 28. Lucas Kroll, 3 for 24. Really not a whole lot to write home about for the Broncos wide receiving game outside of Marvin Mims and Courtland Sutton. But it was just enough here for the Denver Broncos tonight. You saw Michael Burton get in the end zone early. You saw Javonte Williams get in the end zone early. Williams only had 1 total rushing yard in this game when it was all said and done, but he does get in the end zone. So again, any means necessary. That is the name of the game for this Denver Broncos team and their victory here tonight. So good stuff from Nick Bonito, good stuff from Jaquan McMillan, good stuff from Courtland Sutton, Marvin Mims, and Bo Nix to a certain extent as well, as the Denver Broncos get that victory here tonight. Your final score, 41-32. Denver now 8-5 on the year. But guys, My guys, Cody and Sarah, are going to have you covered on your standard Locked On Broncos podcast, so make sure to check out the audio feed of them. And for any of you watching live on YouTube, really appreciate you guys tapping in with me as always. You can follow me on social media at Media by AP. And one last time, make sure to hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, and that way you guys never, ever miss an episode of your Locked On Broncos postcast. We also do Locked On Buffs and Locked On Nuggets right here on your Locked On Sports Denver YouTube channel. And I don't want to, get too far ahead of myself, but I think there's going to be more than 17 games played for the Denver Broncos this season when it's all said and done. So make sure to subscribe. We've got some action-packed stuff coming up. And now Denver gets an opportunity to go into the bye, hit that reset button, and come back out with 4 games remaining on the schedule for the regular season as the Broncos look to push their chips in the center of the table and make the postseason in Bo Nix's rookie season. Love to see it. But guys, that's going to do it for me. Enjoy your Monday night. Good victory show. It'll be a victory Tuesday in Broncos country. Hit that subscribe button, and we'll talk to you guys in a couple of weeks on the next episode of your Locked On Broncos postcast. Good game tonight, folks.